This is Lauren Alexander.
And I'm Jeff Odom.
And you're listening to the Groove Lab podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Groove Lab. This is our first episode of season 2, and I'm so glad to be here. I'm so glad to be back, and I'm excited to jump in. There are some really cool interviews that we've got planned for this season. But first, I just wanted to tell you a few things that are going to be a little bit different. First of all, I've got a co-host this season.
She bailed me out of Joe.
This is Jeff Odom. He is one of my best friends. He's been my drummer for over 10 years, and he's pretty funny sometimes. So I thought we'd have him on to be the co-host. I think it will add a little bit of something.
I'm really excited. It's going to be a great season.
I think so too. It's going to be nice to have someone to talk to other than just
yourself.
Myself, you know? So
you're not very good company.
Well, thank you for being here. I mean, I know it's a lot of work to be in my presence, but the second new thing that's going to be happening is we are going to try out a new video series.
We are.
Called, I don't know, what are
10
we calling
questions.
it? 10 questions?
Yeah,
10 questions.
Yeah.
Groove Lab 10 questions, where we basically the reason that we started this was because we only have 21 episodes this season, and it just didn't feel like enough there are just so many great artists out there and so many great musicians.
Yeah, we want to get to know them better.
We want to get to know people better, but also, just be able to bring you more people. But I think it'll be fun.
We're going to try to get them to let their hair down.
Yeah. What if they're bald?
Then take their cap off.
If you want to know more about Jeff, he's going to be our first 10 questions interview. So
should be fun.
If you want to get to know more about Jeff,
and I know you do.
If you want to get to know more about Jeff, go check out that video.
Just hit me up.
But
you got my number.
Ew, why are you being creepy?
Not you. You have my number. But others,
I'll give you. Hey, do you remember that time that?
What did I do?
No, I did it. We were driving back from Nashville, and at every rest stop that we stopped at, I put your phone number.
Oh yes.
On a bunch of random pieces of paper, and I hid them around a Sprouts and a Whole Foods. I wrote on the piece of paper, call this number and say Lauren is the best. Did you ever get any phone calls?
No, they knew that was a lie.
No. Oh God.
You're crazy.
Anyway, that was funny. But yeah, so let's talk about another new thing.
Uh-huh.
We have a sponsor.
We do have a sponsor. For
this season. Kaiser Musical Products is sponsoring Groove Lab Season 2. Kaiser, I'm sure if you're a musician, you know about Kaiser. They're the number 1 capo brand in the world. I'm not sure of those statistics, but I feel like...
And people may not even know that they're an East Texas company.
They are. They're right in Canton, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So very, very close to home. We're excited to have a sponsor. That seems super legit.
Yeah, and they're going to give us some opportunities for some giveaways.
They are. So giveaways for our listeners, and
we're going to have some games to get you involved in the giveaways.
Yeah, this is the first I'm hearing of that. But yeah, games, Jeff. That sounds
fun.
Like
trivia game,
sure.
Yeah, whatever.
I love it. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so let's talk about our interview today. We've got Kelly Barber.
Yeah, Kelly Barber at Action Sound Music in Hawkins.
Yeah, he owns Action Sound, which is kind of like a local legacy, really. If you have any sort of instrument issues, he can.
Or you just want to buy some instruments.
Yeah. So one of the coolest music stores ever. And also my husband Richie works there as a guitar repair technician. He repairs guitars, and he's pretty badass. So
he is the best around.
Go see him and go see Kelly. Anyway, but yeah, so it was a fun interview with Kelly. He had lots to say. Yeah,
from the very beginning of how he started in the music industry and and where he's at now.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys where you can sit and talk to at the store, and he will talk your ears off, and you'll go away with a new guitar.
Right, and feel good about it.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite things that he said was how he knew how hard it was to be struggling and be a musician, and he wanted to help people the way that, he wanted to be helped as a musician.
Sure.
He's a really good guy and a really thoughtful guy, and I'm glad he sat down with us to do the podcast.
Yeah, it's always nice to hear someone who's actually a musician understand what it's like if you're in a hurry and your guitar is it's not in great condition and you have a gig that's coming weekend.
Right.
And he's the guy that's going to get you where you need to be,
quickly. And you know that your gear's in good hands.
So tune in. It's going to be a great episode.
Yeah, let's jump right in. All right, well, we're here with Kelly Barber, the owner and operator of Action Sound, which is a music store in Hawkins, Texas. The coolest music store you'll ever step foot in. I know a lot of you know this already, but this place is amazing. Just filled with hundreds of guitars, amps, gear, parts, and accessories. You name it, I bet it's lying around here somewhere. Kelly, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
You're welcome.
So tell me how all of this started.
I can't discuss that with you. Everybody's heard the story. It goes back to being treated bad in my childhood, and I'm not going to talk about that. So, and it didn't come from my parents.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
No,
so maybe don't say any specific places.
No, I'm not going to say nothing.
Okay.
No. Let's start over. I loved music growing up. I just loved music, and when actually, I've told this over and over, but I worked in this building here 52 years. What was it? 52 years ago? Yeah, 52 years ago, I worked in this building we're sitting in right now. And I wanted a drum kit, and my daddy told me, if you want a drum kit, go get a job. So I lived across the track down here, and I went to work here for 50 cents an hour, and this was a grocery store, and it took me 9 months, and I found an old used Japanese Apollo drum kit that I bought, and it took me 9 months to save up $75 at 50 cents an hour working after school and on Saturday. So, but once I started playing drums, I kind of dabbled around with my brothers, played a little bit, and we kind of jammed around. Then I ended up getting in some bands, and I just loved music, but although I'm not a guitar player, I loved picking up guitars and feeling of guitars and feeling, how they felt and how they were set up. And I guess I just got a mechanical mind. But I would pick up guitars and just feel of them. I just loved picking a guitar up and playing on it, or a bass. And so I kind of started dabbling around. A guy that I was in a band with, we started up a little business on the side, and I started buying used guitars, and I would take the guitars home and I would start disassembling them. If they needed fret work, I learned how to do fret work. If they needed electronic work, I learned all of that. And I always did woodwork anyway. I love woodwork. And so it kind of got started like that back in the 80s when everybody wanted that locking tremolo. The Floyd Rose came out. Eddie Van Halen made that all popular. Everybody wanted that. People were bringing me old Stratocasters, wanting me to route them out. I'm like, man, please don't do that. No. I'll be like Eddie Van Halen. I'm like, oh, man, you're going to ruin the value of this guitar. I don't care. I'm never selling it anyway. So I started doing all that, and everybody knew me for those locking tremolos. They are kind of a mechanical nightmare, really, if you don't know how to set them up. You break a string, they go out of tune. You know what I mean? So I learned how to set them up and get the action real low, which was a different day and time back then. Everybody wanted their action real low, little bitty strings, and that was hard to pull off when you get your action real low because you're going to get buzzing and all. people would come to me for that, and it just kind of snowballed into what it is today. I worked out in the oil field like we were talking about a minute ago, and I absolutely was sick of it. I wished I hadn't quit now, but I did, and I had this business built up good enough to where I could hopefully make a living at it, and I don't really care much about money at all. I've just kind of limped through all of this. Everybody thought that I was rich, but that's back when I had a good job and I could buy anything I wanted, because all of this kind of was self-supporting. I didn't have to take money from the oil field money or my family. So, and I've just built this all up and never put any money in my pocket. I still don't get a paycheck today. I don't get a paycheck.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
No paycheck.
Well, you're legendary for your humor, and everybody loves hanging out here. That's for sure. So you've created this environment where all musicians feel very comfortable here, and they all talk about your jokes and whatnot. I do have a question. With all the, it's legendary of how, there's always these typical people who hang out at music stores all day long. A lot of them just hang out. What are the do's and don'ts for people who are listening to this podcast? When you come into a music store, what do you do not do, and what can you do? Because a lot of people will start picking up guitars or drums and start beating immediately and doing things. What are some of your pet peeves?
Well, let's talk about some of the stuff that we do allow.
Okay, go ahead.
Because as I was growing up, you would go into the music stores and they're like looking at you like, don't touch that.
Yep.
No, we want you to touch that.
Great.
It doesn't matter if it's a $10,000 guitar or a $10 guitar.
Pick it up.
Pick it up and play it. You have to feel of it. You got to connect with that instrument somehow. I would rather you pick it up and put a little ding in it than I had you buy it and take it home and put a ding in it and then say, hey, I just don't like the way this sounds or whatever. I mean, we'll fix the ding, whatever. Just play it. Make sure you know what you want.
That's awesome.
But some of the things that my pet peeves are, we've heard it all. I've heard the best musicians on the planet.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. You can come in here, even, I don't want to make it sound like this, even if you're not a very good player, we don't mind that. We know you have the opportunity to get better and all. It's the ones that come in here that are going to show you how bad to the bone they are. And you're sitting here listening to it and like, man, please turn that thing down. It's okay. But when you sit here for hours on end over there looking at us and playing these songs like you're trying to impress us, we've heard it all,
So you don't want a performance. Come enjoy
no,
the store,
I'm not. Don't say that, because we get a lot of performances. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. We do have people that'll come in to perform
there's a
for us.
Contest a lot of times.
But just remember, before you come in here, we've heard the best of the best of the best of the best. And a lot of them get on my nerves too. You know what I mean?
For sure.
I mean, you go out. I learned a long time ago at the NAMM shows that you go to there's tons of celebrities there.
Oh, yeah.
And I would say it's a 50-50 shot whether you're going to like that person or not. Because I've met some of my favorite musicians that were the biggest a-holes you could ever meet. And then I've met some that I didn't really care that much for that was the nicest people on the planet. You know what I mean? There's a lot of those guys that I've met that I've spent tons and tons and tons of money on listening to their albums, like certain drummers that I would listen to, and I'm sitting over there with a needle on a record player with headphones on, back and forth, hours on end learning this. We didn't have internet back then. There wasn't. You can get all the lessons on the internet you want now, but your favorite artist, you're going to find something online that you can learn from. We didn't have that back then. So through the years, I would take people out to the NAMM show with me, and they would want to meet their favorite celebrity. Well, there's going to be plenty of them there, and we'll bump into some, and I've had people with me where those celebrities just turned and acted like they didn't want to talk to you, you know what I mean? It's like, get out of my way, I got somewhere I got to go. And, man, when they pull that crap after I've spent a bunch of money on them my whole life and they want to act that way, man, I have called a bunch of them out, got in their face. You know, I'm surprised I didn't get my tail kicked over and over. But what is fun is when you meet these people, and then through the years, your telephone rings and this person is on the phone calling you wanting to buy something, or they ran into somebody that had already previously bought something, and then they tell that friend, and it's just nuts. Some of the people that will call us on the phone is just crazy. So that part's a lot of fun.
Well, that ought to speak volumes about what you offer.
Well, I've collected up a bunch of stuff through the years, you know, and I guess I've just been in the right place at the right time a lot of times in my life, and I've been in some bad stuff, you know. Just life events that you're going to go through, but for the most part, it's been a lot of fun, and it's been fun helping people out. That's exactly where I started out. Is I always needed to get a good deal for myself, and I had to hunt around to find a good deal for myself. And I'm like, if I can ever do this and pass that along to the customers, and it's hard to do sometimes because you're competing with the world, and the people today people don't mind getting on the internet and ordering a guitar, and in my time, and you want to pick that thing up and feel it. And we still get tons of people that come in here wanting to trade in guitars that they bought online and they got it in. It wasn't what they thought it was going to be, So I don't know. It's always better to go into the store, whether it be here or any of the local stores or whatever. Go in and try the stuff out. Don't ever order a guitar online without trying it out. Now we have people that'll call us on the phone and say, hey, I bought this off the internet because it was broke and we knew you could fix it. And I got this killer deal. So that puts a lot of pressure on us to be able to show them that we can do it, and we've got in some doozies before.
And now a word from our sponsor.
We are so excited to be teaming up with Kaiser Musical Products for this season of the Groove Lab podcast. Kaiser is a family-owned and operated guitar accessories company proudly made in East Texas and globally recognized for their world-famous quick change capos. Guaranteed with a lifetime warranty, Kaiser capos are ready for anything that the road throws at them. And they offer a variety of colors, patterns, and styles to suit every player and every personality. So no matter where you are in your musical journey, there's a Kaiser capo just for you. Go to kaisermusical.com and use our code GROOVE at checkout for 15% off your purchase. That's GROOVE at kaisermusical.com. Kaiser, fostering collaboration and creativity to share the power of music. I want to know,
okay, go ahead.
What has been the coolest guitar that you've ever worked on? Or like the craziest repair?
The craziest repair. God, I've fixed everything. I've had I don't know. It's just kind of funny when you get telephone calls or something will show up. I had a guitar come in from American Airlines, and I get a hold of the guy that sends it to me in the mail or something. No, it came from American Airlines. They sent it, but the customer was somewhere in like Carthage or somewhere, and he sent it. I want to say it was H&H Music, and it was, they had torn it up in the flight or something, and it was binding work is what it needed, and they took it to H&H Music. Well, my entire life I've seen amps come in over and over and over with H&H Music things on them. I'm like, these guys are big time. I think they were in Houston or somewhere, but it has the customer's name on there, and I call him on the phone, and I'm like, how? This came from American Airlines. How did you find me? And he said, well, American Airlines called H&H Music, and they said, we can't do that. We don't do that kind of work, but this guy will. I'm like, how the heck do they know me? I don't have a clue. I got a call one time from a guy in Denver, Colorado. I'll never forget it. His name was Gene Martin. He had a 12-string vintage Martin guitar. He worked for Carnival Cruise Lines. Two guys get into a fight up on the stage and tear his guitar up, knock the side out of it. So this guy finds me. I'm like, how do these people find us? It just makes no sense. But anyway, we repaired that guitar for him 25 years ago or even longer. And And he sends me stuff to this day from time to time. He doesn't work for Carnival anymore, but I don't know. I've got to work on. I've got. I guess the one that I would think that was the most fun was Doyle Dykes walked in here one day with Jerry Reed's Gretsch that he did tons of recording with, and
That's
he
cool.
and he brings it in here and he tells me, I want you to do a fret job on it. And I'm like, Doyle, you have access to the Fender Custom Shop, Gretsch, Guild. He was in with all them guys. I'm like, what are you bringing it in here for? Well, you did my last fret job, and I like it, so I want you. And he said, matter of fact, Federal Express is sending the frets from the Fender Custom Shop. And I looked up, and here's Federal Express guy walking in the door. I said, well, let's do it right now. And he's standing over me with the camera, and here I am taking the frets out of Jerry's guitar that he did. I'm on cloud nine because I'm like, this is a highlight, getting to work on something that was owned by him, but we refretted that guitar, and there's been just numerous other guitars that come through. I got a guitar one time off of that used to belong to George Harrison. That a good friend of mine used to play with Seals and Croft and England Dan and John Ford Cole. He was in the studio out in L.A. and he met George Harrison when he was recording the Dark Horse album. Went in and he had all these guitars laying around, and he picked one of them up and was talking to George after he introduced himself. And he said, man, I've really been wanting a Strat. Would you sell this? And he sold it to him right there on the spot. And he had it for years and years. I got it off of him probably 15 years ago. Did some trading with him and ended up with that guitar. I've got one of Elvis's bass players, second bass player, Chuck Wigington. I ended up getting a bass off of him. The first Elvis bassist was Bill Black. His bass was purchased by Paul McCartney, and he's had it for a long time. So I've got number 2. That's pretty cool. That's awesome. Some of the celebrity-owned guitars that I've got are real cool, Just I've been collecting guitars for a long time, and every once in a while somebody will come along that I know real well that is like, hey, I'd really like to have that, and I don't want to get rid of it, but I know it'll always come back to me if they ever get rid of it. So a lot of times I'll sell stuff I don't even want to sell, But I keep all of that stuff pretty much put up. It's kind of funny. People will come in and they're like, man, what's the chances of me getting to go upstairs? And upstairs? How do you even know there's an upstairs? Oh, so-and-so told me he's been upstairs. And whatever. Anyway.
That is really true. Like, before I met you, I knew that you had, like, this secret wonderland of just stuff and the coolest stuff, like, kind of like Willy Wonka. Like, you don't know what's in there.
Well, I would never.
But everyone wants to know what's in there,
It's funny, though, because back when I started all of this, I would pick up stuff that you would take to someone else that really, was like some great guitar repairman in Dallas and stuff. That's what really got me going hardcore is I would take vintage stuff that really was worth a lot of money. I'd take it to some of the experts up there, and I'll never forget the last time I went up there. I had a 63 Strat and needed a fret job, and it was pretty messed up, and I took it up to one of my buddies up there. This was back in probably the late 80s. And I was already doing fret work, but I was like, man, this is an expensive guitar. I don't want to work on this. I'll let one of these guys do it. And I took that guitar up there to him. He'd done tons of fret work for me. And he said, nah, that thing, he said, throw it away. It's worthless. It can't be repaired. What? So I brought it back and fixed it. And then I sold it to another guy that's in the vintage guitar business, and I said, look it over real close. Look at the frets. Look at the fingerboard. I want to be sure because I had to do a lot of serious patchwork on the fingerboard, but it looked great. And from that point forward, I never sent another guitar out. I'm just like, no, not going to do it anymore. This dude told me it can't be fixed, and I fixed it. Anyway. So we try not to turn anything down. We do get some doozies every once in a while. One funny one, and I may get in trouble for telling this because she may listen to this, but I sold a guitar to a customer and she came back in about, well, she actually bought two of the guitars. And she came back in about a year later, and she had this guitar that she or someone had tried to repair. I mean, it was busted in. It was probably repairable until they filled it up with super glue
Oh my God.
and Gorilla Glue. Gorilla Glue is the worst stuff on the planet. Don't get Gorilla Glue around a guitar. But anyway, it was all glued in the wrong spots, and it was all out of whack. And she brought it in. She goes, "Can you fix this guitar?" And I looked at it, and I said, "Well, I could have if somebody else wouldn't have gotten in there." And don't get me wrong, we fix them all of the time that people have glued with the wrong glue, and we have to take them apart and clean all that glue. We do that, but this one was so bashed in. Anyway, I'm like, what happened to the guitar? I mean, how does the guitar get this busted? And she goes, "Oh, my husband got mad and he kicked it in." I said, "What did he do that for?" He said, "Oh, he was mad at me because I gave it to my boyfriend." Like, uh-oh.
Okay.
That's another story.
That's hilarious. Well, I would like to talk to you maybe about some guitar care tips
Okay.
for musicians. Maybe you have some things you'd want to say. For example, I know a lot of people do this. They get home late from a gig, and then they leave their guitar in the car. They wake up at like 12 or 2, and their guitar's been like baking in the sun for hours. So I know that's a no-no. Do you have any other advice like that?
Well, the first thing is when you leave your instrument in your car. I got a call one time from, his name was Bernard Jenkins, and he was from Jackson, Mississippi. And he used to play for Little Richard, and he played for Johnny Taylor out of Dallas. And he calls me on the phone looking for a super reverb. And I said, "Yeah, I've got a super reverb." And he said, "I'm on my way to get one." I said, "Where are you coming from?" He said, "Jackson, Mississippi." And I thought, man, this must be a joke. And the guy shows up and gets out and comes in, and we set these amps up and everything. But what I'm trying to tell you about leaving your equipment in the car. He played a gig late one night in Dallas, and he had a Mesa Boogie Blue Angel, and he had a Volvo station wagon that he hauled his gear around in, and he got home late and was just too tired to unload his gear. Well, what happened? Somebody broke into his car and stole his Mesa Boogie, right? So now he's sitting back going, "Well, I always wanted a super, so my amp's gone, so where do I think I can find one?" And I'm like, "How in the heck did you find me?" And he said, "I drive past your store on I-20 all the time." He said, "I looked up and got the number off of the sign." And he said, "I just thought I'd call." And he's been doing business with me ever since. So that's one thing. Don't leave your instrument in your car. We have people call us all the time, unless it's a banjo. You can leave a banjo in your car because we don't care. A lot of times you'll leave your banjo in your car and come out the next day and there's two banjos in there. You know? But no, not only is the heat bad for your guitar, but the cold is bad for your guitar. Acoustic guitars, mainly, they're put together out of glue, and we use heat to take a guitar apart. So when you leave it out in the trunk, it gets way hotter inside of a car because the sun's beaming down on the car, and it might get to 120, 130 degrees in a car, and that'll melt, that'll make the glue soft, and it'll just implode, So do not leave them in a car.
Do it.
Yeah, I tell you, I've been guilty coming home at 3 in the morning, and I'm like, those drums can wait till I get up in the morning. And so I've been guilty of that many times, But
Yeah.
I'll get up early enough where it gets hot, and I'll put them in the house. But
Yeah.
you're taking your chance. Someone
Yeah.
breaking in.
Yeah. Well, depending on what you got. See, like you and I are drummers. If you've got an import kit or that's got a wrap or something on it, when that gets in the sun or in the heat, it bubbles the finish up and it just destroys the look of your drums. So it's just bad. Just don't leave your instruments in a vehicle.
Don't do it.
Not good.
Well, do you have any future plans for Action Sound?
Wow. You know what? I hate to even say that because rumors get started all the time. I've heard all the rumors. I've heard that I was dead. I heard that I was dying. You know, I heard that I was going out of business. I've heard it all. People come in all the time, you know. I mean, it's pretty shocking when somebody comes in and says, "Oh, they told me over at that other store that you were dead,"
Oh
you know,
my
and I'm like,
God.
"Uh-oh."
This week he heard he's got Alzheimer's.
Yeah, oh yeah.
What?
This week we got a call from a customer in Shreveport that heard that I was losing it, that I didn't have had no memory, I couldn't remember and all. I'm like, what the heck is? So I ended up having to call that customer and assure him, you know, I'm okay, man, I'm all right.
Oh wait, who's starting these rumors?
Well,
His
I don't
enemies,
know.
obviously.
Other music stars?
No,
What's
a guy,
happening?
a guy just came in and he said, "Hey, a buddy of mine bought this guitar that you bought a long time ago off of another buddy of mine's guitar." And he asked me, he said, "Didn't you buy this from so and so?" Well, I was confused. I thought he meant, "Did you buy it from the guy you sold it to?" And I'm like, "No." I said, "No, I don't remember that name." And he didn't give me the right name of the person that I purchased the guitar from, right? He kept mentioning the guy that bought it. I'm like, "No, I didn't buy it from him." And he got confused over that, and that turned into that I was losing it. You know, I'm losing it. So I had to call that customer back and assure him, no, I'm okay. Not that I'm not losing it, you know what I mean? I never really had it.
Yeah,
So.
me either.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious. That's so funny.
For those who are listening, maybe what are what brands do you sell when it comes to drums or guitars? What's your main dealership here?
Well, my main drums is Pearl. We do a lot of Pearl drums. I got a good relationship with Pearl.
Do you do Zildjian or Plasti or cymbals?
You know what? That's kind of funny that you mentioned that, because when I moved over here from Liberty City, I used to have cymbal trees with every cymbal brand known to man. And when I moved over here, I was trying to kind of reduce my inventory because I was moving into a smaller building. But I noticed when I got over here that like the drum situation here just fell to an all-time low. And at the same time, acoustic guitars were going off the charts, you know. So you'll see things are real trendy, things, you know. And just when you think something's not going to sell, somebody will come in and they'll want what you don't have,
Right,
you know
right.
what I mean? So we don't really keep a lot of our drums in here. We keep them stored, but everybody knows this, and they know if I want a so-and-so Pearl drum, I can get on the phone and call my buddy at Pearl and get pretty much whatever you want. As far as guitars, we are Bedale and Breedlove in the acoustic guitars. You know, we sell some other, we've got dealerships with other brands that just, I'm not going to even mention, but our number one acoustic guitar here is the Bedales. They're just killer guitars. All hand built in Bend, Oregon. We sell a lot of Paul Reed Smith electric guitars, and you know they're just killer, top of the line stuff. You know, all that stuff's kind of expensive, but people are still buying them, so we carry them. Here are all kind of other stuff, but we really put a lot of emphasis on the Paul Reed Smiths, the Bedales and Breedloves and stuff like that, because they're the companies that we spend the most money with, you know, and we really try to back those companies. So.
And obviously you repair them because Richie works here as a repairman.
Yes.
Well. What's your hours of operation and your location for those who would like to find you?
We're open Tuesday through Friday from 11:30 to 6:30, and Saturday from 11:30 to 4. Now, I've heard people out front. I get up here at 9 o'clock. I'm here every morning. Me and Johnny are here at 9. And so there's a lot of customers that walk through the door long before we're open. And matter of fact, we do a ton of business before we're officially open. You know, so if you need something or you got an emergency or something, just call us on the phone. We'll set up an appointment, but we generally try to get you out the door pretty quick. And I know there's going to be people listening and they're like, "Man, I've had something over there forever." Yep. We're very busy. So there's stuff that might get lost in the shuffle. Don't hesitate to call us back. And if we're running behind on something, call us and let us know. And believe me, people do tell us. So we just have to deal with that. You know?
Right.
So, anyway,
That means you're pretty good at what you're doing then, Kelly. if
I
people
don't
are-
know. People say that we're good at what we do, but they keep coming back. But I do have some really good employees. I've got some good employees, so everything's going good right now. Business has been good. We've been staying busy, especially through the pandemic.
That's awesome.
Everybody's wanting to get their old instrument fixed, so that's been good. And there are a lot of people are just like sitting at home and like, man, I got to have a new guitar. So that's been good. So
Well, there's a swell of music that's fixing to explode once this pandemic is officially over. The clubs are already preparing themselves for what's going to be like music overload, so you may
yeah.
get even busier.
Yeah, people are getting stir crazy at
Yeah.
home. They want to get out. And I myself, I went out twice this week to see bands.
Mm-hmm.
I went
did
out
see
to
us.
see Lauren, and I went to see Teaser, and had a good time at both of them.
That's
So
awesome.
people are
We
craving to
appreciate
get.
seeing you in the crowd the other night.
Oh, it was fun.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny about it is I don't get out a whole lot. I don't go see a lot of bands. I used to, but I'm getting old. You know what I mean? I'm getting
You have
tired.
dementia, as we both
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
said
yeah,
earlier.
yeah. Yeah, I do. Got dementia, yeah. But no, it's just music. I just love music, Just and I say that, but I don't listen to music at home. I don't.
Oh, you don't?
No, I don't. When I get in my vehicle, I don't turn the radio on. I used to have like the best of home stereo gear. You know what I mean? I did, and I had all the latest albums, and I enjoyed sitting. The music has changed a lot with going back to MTV. When they came out with MTV, they blew my whole concept of listening to a song and getting your image of that song in your mind. Lauren, you may write a song that means something to you, and somebody else may have an incident in their life that they can relate to that song, but they get their visual picture of it. And then when the music executives and all come out and tell them, no, we're going to do this video and it's going to say this, they kill your whole
Concept
idea
of
of what
Yeah.
that song was about that you've listened to your whole life. But, you get in here and you listen to people playing on guitars, and that's another thing. You see no drum set up in here. I learned my lesson a long time ago. You get a drum set up in the store. I know I said earlier, we want to see the people playing them, but when somebody's over there bashing on drums all day long and your brain can't think anymore,
Yeah, get rid of the drum set.
that led to me not wanting to go get in my vehicle and listen to music. I've heard enough today, you know what I mean? And people will ask me, well, you should come play in our church. And I'm like, man, I go to church to get away from music, I go to reflect,
Some
and
silence. Yeah.
and so, no, I don't want to hear somebody banging on a drum at church.
Put a
Sorry,
cajon.
all of you guys that play in church, but that's okay.
Yeah, put a cajon in there.
Yeah,
Get rid
yeah.
of the drum set.
It
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
matter if a drummer comes
Well, no,
in here,
I've
though.
had the cajones in here, and they want to play on them too,
Yeah.
And then
But
you'll
they
go.
don't make quite as much noise.
No, they don't make as much noise, but at the end of the day, you'll go over there and you find out which brands are good because you'll be like, hey, where'd that crap come from? Oh, didn't you see old so-and-so over here banging on this earlier?
Oh, jeez.
And we got one, sorry to tell you this, because I know you'll probably be listening, but we got one drummer that'll come in here and he can't hear anymore, and he wants to try out cymbals. And he'll set a cymbal up over there on the stand, and it's just like,
And that's why you can't hear anymore.
Well, Kelly, thank you so much for being on the podcast. For all of you listening, come see Kelly and the gang at 157 North Beulah in Hawkins, Texas.
I want to thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Groove Lab. Stay groovy.